Ladies and gentlemen, please be so kind as to take your seats. We have two more wonderful events in this section of today's program for you that we need to get to because we have time limitations. Before we start, I want to ask you to please, we're going to have a presentation by Farzinpour and Manesh, but after the presentation, we need you to please stay in your seats for about 5 minutes. The Center for Iranian Jewish Oral History gives an annual research award, the Ayub Yousefzadeh Education Research Award, and our recipient this year is Selina Elise, I'm sorry. I've been talking so much, I'm losing my voice. And because she needs to go back to New York, we were originally going to give her award tonight, but she needs to fly back, so we're going to do it after the presentation. Please bear with us for 5 minutes while we take care of that. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce our next presenters today. Farzinpour was born to a Jewish family in Tehran 25 days before the start of the Iran-Iraq War. He attended 3 semesters of college in Tehran, where he was also on the board of the Iranian Jewish Student Organization. He then moved to the United States and soon thereafter received his bachelor's in science in industrial engineering and operations research from UC Berkeley in 2005. In 2003, Farzin was the project management intern at Tetra Tech Foster Wheeler Inc.'s naval base in Alameda. And in 2004, he was the industrial engineering intern at Genentech's clinical packaging department in San Francisco. During these 2 years, he was also the president of the Berkeley chapter of the International Society of Pharmaceutical Engineering. Farzinpour is the Alpha Pi Miru Industrial Engineering Honor Society. I'm sorry, I don't speak Greek, much to my shame. I can't read Greek letters. Our co-presenter, Sohail Manesh, received his bachelor's in biotech and bioethics in 2004 from the University of Judaism in Los Angeles, where he was also a science tutor during his senior year. Sohail is presently studying to become a doctor of pharmacy at the University of California in San Francisco. Before going to UCSF, Sohail was a student extern at the Cedars-Sinai Medical Center's Neurosurgical Institute for Brain Tumor Barrier Drug Design. Most recently, Sohail Manesh is the recipient of the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society Scholarship Award. He is currently the project director of Medicare Part D, treasurer of the UCSF chapter of the American Pharmacists Association, secretary of the UCSF chapter of the California Society for Health System Pharmacists, and treasurer of the Iranian Cultural Organization. And somehow they have both found time to come and give us this wonderful presentation today about Gilead, one of the oldest cemeteries, I think the oldest cemetery in Iran, and I will let them give you the rest of the information. Ladies and gentlemen, please.
بر مفرش خاک خفتگان میبینم در زیر زمین نهفتگان میبینم چندان که به صحرای عدم مینگرم ناآمدگان و رفتگان میبینم. My name is Farzinpour and this is my friend Sohail Manesh. We did this research. Our primary advisor was Dr. Jale Pirnazar. She is sitting somewhere. Yes. I would like to mention that, as you heard, we are not historians and we don't know much archaeology, so please bear with us as we go through this presentation. I would like to also dedicate this presentation to the memory of my friend Arezvi Yaqubzadeh, who passed away 10 days ago. The methodology that we used to do this research was we gathered data doing site visits, interviews, and library research. and we analyzed the data that we had collected in collaboration with faculty at UC Berkeley and University of Judaism. You will hear us mentioning many different variations of the name. Gilad is specifically a Transjordanic region. It's also used commonly to refer to any large mountainous district, not a particular one. The name later transformed to become Gilyard, and nowadays it's called Gilavand and Gilard. The outline of our presentation, I will talk about the history from Assyrian captivity to resettlement in plateau of Iran, which perhaps you heard in the previous presentation. Gilyard as a town, and Sohail will walk you through the historical significance of the cemetery, the current situation of it, and what needs to be done. As we can see in this great picture, which was taken from the cover of Dr. Habib Levy's book, we can see that there were two waves of immigration to Iran and waves of settlement. One earlier from the Israelites who were taken captive by the Assyrians, and the other one, 140 years later, the captives that were taken from the country of Judah. As we can see in more detail in these maps, at the time of Tiglath-Pileser attacked the northern country of Israel, and one of the specific regions that he captured was Gilad, and he took the prisoners captive and took them to 3 different cities in Assyria. Later, his successor, Sargon II, again, he attacked Israel. He took more captives, he took them to Assyria, and he moved them further east to the territories of the Medes that were taken 3 years earlier by him. Next, we can see at the later times, the later emperors moved their Jewish captives further east to the central areas of Iran, including Damavand. This is also noted in the Bible, in the second book of Kings, as we can see, and specifically it notes the captives that were taken from Gilad and taken to Assyria. Then again, we have in biblical sources that in the second attack they were taken to the cities of Medes. Also in the historical documents of the Assyrians, we can read extensively about these attacks, and you can go to Louvre and see the reliefs. They're very cool, I've seen them. And it talks extensively about the fact that the Israelites were taken from Israel and then later moved and settled in western Iran. Again, in Tarikh Iran by Dr. Pirnia, we can see the chronology of events, as you can see. And the most interesting is the oral tradition of the Jews of Damavand, which was observed by Dr. Levy 60 years ago. They claim that they are descendants of the tribes of Gad, Reuven, and Naphtali, and that they are descendants of the Assyrian prisoners. The interesting thing is that they don't know anything about Assyrian history and their practice of moving their captives and resettling them in another part of the world. And they did not know anything about their history as a people and as Jews. But they knew this. An opposing view that we found in a paper that was published in the CIGOH, the first volume, is by Mr. Jahangir Bannaiyan. He believes that Gilead is not the first settlement of Jews in Iran. He believes that Gilead doesn't have anything to do, the word doesn't have anything to do with Gilad, but rather with Gilan, which is a northern province in Iran. And he believes that the prisoners were moved to Ray and settled there instead of Gilad. And that his reason to believe that is that the older tombstones that you can see in Gilead are not the ones from Mount Damavand and from Elborz, but the material indicates that they are from Bibi Shahbanu, which is in south of Tehran next to Ray. However, we can critique his view because of the fact that the Mongol invasion, which is when he believes that the Jews moved from Ray to Gilead and took their dead and the tombstones with them. gur be gur shodan. To Gilead happened in the 13th century, whereas the tombstones that he is referring to are from after mid-16th century. So we can doubt his view. I personally believe that both of these gentlemen can be correct in that the Jews could have been, the Israelites, sorry, I have to correct. The Israelites could have been settled in different areas of Iran for two main reasons. So that they wouldn't have had a chance to reunite as a people and have an army and fight back the Assyrians, and so that they will diversify different regions and help to flourish and develop those regions. Whereas instead of sending them to the home of the white demon, the Diva Safid, and so that they wouldn't survive even a year. I don't see any reason for moving someone 800 kilometers 2,700 years ago so that they get killed in 6 months. You can just kill them. And to support this, de Morgan, a famous archaeologist and historian who did extensive research in 19th century in the province of Tehran, he writes in his own handwriting that although Damavand region is not mentioned in history as often as Ray, from the artifacts that we find there, we can definitely conclude that it is as old and as important as Ray. During the Parthian era, we have, according to Dr. Levy, we had again a big wave of migration of Jews from the west to the more central parts of Iran because of the fact that at the time the two big empires of the time, the Persian Empire and the Roman Empire, were in clash, and the Persian Empire was supportive of the Jews and the Roman Empire wasn't. So the Jews moved further to the central Iran, including Damavand, and the population did significant growth. Finally, the end of Gilead as a town, that is, as it's noted in the history, at the time of Afghan invasion, they first have a plague which kills many people. By the time the Afghans attack, the population is very weakened. Many people took refuge in the neighboring mountains. By the time they came back, there was nothing left of Gilead, so they didn't have any option but to move to Damavand. And I pass to Sahib.
Thank you very much, Farzin. All right, so the next part, I would like to give a description of Jews of Gilead as far as the diversity distribution and other parts. So I start with the diversity and distribution. I would like to divide into two parts. First, the before invasion of the Afghans and the post-invasion of the Afghans. Before the invasion, most of the Jews, there was a big migration from the Mongol, due to the operations of the Mongol and the Safavid dynasty, and most of the migrations were from cities, other cities of Iran, including Damghan, Kashan, other cities. Post-invasion was the end of the inhabitation of Gilead as a town. Small population later on came back from the mountains and it started settlements in Damavand, which is north of Gilead. But the cemetery was still used. And then later on, when Tehran became the capital, there was a migration, a new wave of migration to the capital. As far as the lifestyle, they were mostly involved in agriculture and raising herds and cattle. Actually, there's enough documents to show that they were involved with agriculture up to the last century. In fact, actually, I've mentioned it in previous researches I've done as far as the use of agriculture and Jews living in villages in Iran. Sanctity of Gilead. Gilead cemetery is very much important religious site. It was a burial place for the faithful and the righteous. There's an example of it, the burial place of daughter of Hakim Haqnazar, who was a philanthropist. She was buried over there. Also, it had many functioning synagogues, although there was no one living over there. According to Mr. Shafai, who was actually a resident of Gilead and Damavand, there was a functioning synagogue up to 70 and 80 years ago next to the cemetery, And what is most important is that there was this there was actually a stone, actually not a tombstone, an engraved old stone that dates back to 900 years ago, which was standing there up to 78 years ago and was moved to Tehran from there to Israel later. But where is Gilyard? What's the geography of it? It's part of the province of Tehran, county of Damavand, city of Damavand, which is about 18 miles east of Tehran. And as the cemetery, exact cemetery location, Gilyard Cemetery is located at the west side of the Gilavand Road to Damavand, northwest of the village of Gilyard, and north of the new development called, interestingly, Jihad. Up to 80 years ago, the distance, walking distance from the cemetery to the main street in the city was about 45 minutes walking. So you can see that. You can actually see Damavand region. This is a satellite picture taken by Google about a few days ago. You can see Damavand mountain. You can see the road that goes from Tehran to Firuzkoh, and the road that goes perpendicular to it. This is the area where Gilyard is. And then all of these green parts are actually where people live. And that will be approximate location of where the cemetery is. So historical significance of Gilyard Cemetery neighborhood, well, there are many sources, many sites, archaeological sites around the neighborhood. Ganji Hills and Castle, historical hills of Bagh Pain, archaeological sites of Zon Village. So all these actually are within the proximity of the hills we're talking about, the Gilyard Hills. They all date back to 1st and 2nd millennium before the Common Era, so they are as old as the time period that we are interested in. So what can we find out about, what good is it to study a historical site, an archaeological site? A good example of it is what Dr. Levy did. He basically went and then looked at the stones, tombstones, and from that he found out that, for example, there was a migration of the Jews during the time of the oppression of Safavid dynasty, especially Shah Abbas II, to the city. Right? That proves the fact that migrations took place. That proves a lot of writings and poems that some of the Jewish Iranian poems had, and that's a very good proof. Another interesting example is the date, the Seleucid calendar system. Iranian Jews did not use the Hebrew calendar system that we know today. We use a different calendar system up to a couple of hundred years ago. The Shetarot, or the Seleucid calendar, example of it, 1875 tombstone that was found. The actual date would be 1564 Common Era, and that's the calendar system that they used. Oops. Okay, so another example of it is very interesting, is what archaeologists did in Israel, in Jericho, Israel, about 30, 40 years ago, and archaeological site, which dates back to 1st and 2nd century before the Common Era. It's interesting what they found. They found objects and excavation of the Jewish cemetery, coins, pottery, glass vessels, sandal, wooden fragments, leather, and so on. They also found tomb inscriptions, names, personal names. From that, they found out relationships and genealogy, paleography, type of handwritings, use of language, and so on. Burial customs, that's another thing that you can find out. Cemetery boundaries, tomb architecture, burial types, and so on. Distribution, irregular burials, evolution of the burial customs. And the comparison of study between the Jewish cemetery and the non-Jewish cemeteries around the area. So as far as the situation currently, well, one interesting point is the previous destructions. The synagogue that I mentioned earlier existed about 78 years ago, was destroyed actually 50 years ago. There was new improvements in the area also. There was a movie theater that was built at the side of the cemetery about 8 years ago, which resulted in a reaction by the Federation, the Iranian Jewish Federation. And also there was a neighboring Muslim cemetery that dated back to early Islamic era, which was also destroyed due to civil constructions. So that resulted in a negotiation between the Iranian Jewish Federation and the city of Damavand, the building of the movie theater. Eventually, it resulted in a ruling by the mayor on honoring ownership upon the rectification or building of walls around the property. So if they would build the walls, they would keep the hills. But due to the lack of the funds, that didn't happen. So from the site visit that I had September 9th, 2005, I noticed a lot of broken tombstones, a lot of bones scattered around, buildings and civil constructions in the south and southeastern section of the site, which is the oldest part of the cemetery. The road construction in south and southeast of the site also. This, south of the cemetery, this is a hip bone of an individual. We don't know who, what. Parts of a tombstone, you can see the details, 1875, Common Era. Relocated tombstones. So there were tombstones that actually were relocated to be saved from the southern part to the center. It's one example of it. We don't know even actually how old is it. We're going to find that out. One other example is a picture of the hills. You can see these are the tombstones. You can see them actually. And you can also see the destruction, the rubbles around. One example, open tomb. It's actually open. It's not really interesting. 1981. So what's the situation? What's the situation? What's the problem? There's lack of financial support to for both preservation and also the study of the cemetery. There is lack of historical and cultural data of Iranian Jewry from both post and pre-Islamic era, and importance of prioritizing excavations and research. We do not know very much about our past, except a few handful of researches that we have and a few books. We don't have very much. And another problem is the halakhic issues and with regards of the new tombs. And most important of all is the fact that the time window of less than a year before the complete demolition of the cemetery. So what is our target? What is our goal? Our goal is actually to have an establishment of a foundation to raise the necessary funds to A, rectify or build walls to preserve the remaining property, and two, most importantly, to allocate educational grants and scholarships for the purpose of archaeological and anthropological studies and excavations. And the deadline has already passed. At the end, I would like to thank all of my friends from different places, from Iran, from Berkeley, from San Francisco, from Los Angeles, from University of Judaism, in helping and gathering this research study. Now I would like you to pay attention to a small video presentation. Wide screen. at least I could give you a description of the place as it goes on. I guess the voice wasn't that good. This is the southeast part. You can see the buildings on the side of the. Think about it. It was actually 20 hills that was owned by us, and then after that, actually 2 hills are left, and that's how it is. You don't even know who's who or is what. And what's interesting is actually, you'll see a little bit earlier, there's an ark, and then the ark, the only left building structure, Jewish structure, was actually a private family burial place, which resulted in helping of the other stones around it to be preserved, whereas all the ones that are actually further down, they're gone. Didn't want to scare you guys. This is actually not a human bone. This is an animal bone. But there were human bone. The one that I show you at the very beginning, there are actually more pictures of it. Didn't want to disturb you, but there are lots of stuff like that. They're not that old. Some of them, Shahrivar 68. It's about 16 years ago. Not that old. Some are covered. You can see that actually built on top of one another. We have enough of information and data that there actually could be other burial places covered from older time period underneath. There is a possibility, a good possibility, that Jews would build or make new burial places on top of the older ones over time. Tombstone, tomb unknown. Moved. This is the more southern part. This is the part that randomly few of them are left. You see, it's covered. It's actually. So this is the view of the more preserved area, and this ark actually has saved a lot of graves around it. And I talked to some of the locals in the area, and what they said was also actually sad at the same time. So this is interesting. This is you could see the destruction. They were actually destroying some stuff on the other side. I had no idea what was it exactly, though, personally. Thank you. تفرج کنان در هوا و هوس گذشتیم بر خاک بسیار کسانی که اینک به غیب اندرند بیایند و بر خاک ما بگذرند. Whatever we do to our fathers' graves is what we can expect from our children to do to ours. At this moment, I would like to ask if there's any questions.
دوستان عزیز خواهش میکنم که برای چند دقیقه دیگه با ما باشین. اگر که از این دوستان جوانمون سوالی ندارید خواهش میکنم یه چند تا سوال میگیریم برای اینکه وقت کمه. خواهش میکنم حتما سوال شما رو میگیریم، ولی همونطور که هومن قبل از این جلسه گفت یه تغییر کوچیک در برنامه داده شده به خاطر اینکه اون دانشجویی که برنده جایزه ما شده باید شب برگرده به نیویورک، از نیویورک اومده و نمیتونه در برنامه شب این پرزنتیشن اووردش رو داشته باشیم. خواهش میکنم که در سالن باشید، دختر جوان دیگری رو ببینید که با شوق و علاقه راجع به یکی از مسائل یهودیان ایرانی تحقیق کرده و بسیار تحقیق زیبایی کرده و به خاطر همینم برنده جایزه شده. او رو ببینید و جایزه‌ای که بهش تقدیم میکنیم. چند سوال میگیریم برای اینکه وقت زیاد نیست. شما بفرمایید خانم کامران، بفرمایید.
این مال سپتامبر، 9 سپتامبر 2005. الان کجا میخوابونن؟
شما کدوم بهشتی منظورتونه خانم؟ دو تا قبرستون آخر تهران هر دوتاش اسمش بهشتیه بوده. یکی اونی بوده که پهلوی اورت بوده که به اون میگفتن بهشتیه، که بعد اون رو به حساب خراب میکنن و بهشتیه جدید درست میکنن تو جاده خاوران خراسان و اون هنوز هستش. بله.
سوال شما می‌خواستید توضیح بدید؟ سوال بفرمایید.
It actually is, and I actually have the book here. And this book was published 3 years ago, and it's interesting. After the person goes through the explanation of the site, he has got one paragraph on the importance of preservation of this place. It's very interesting. I can show you this book. The paragraph? Sure. خانم دکتر میشه شما بیاین بالا به ما کمک کنید؟ بله. چرا؟
تا این آرتیکل پیدا میکنن من توضیح بدم که این کاغذایی که خدمت شما دوستان دادم که خواهش کردم پخشش بکنید، ایمیل و آدرس و نشانی فرزین و دوست دیگرشون سهیل هست که میخوایم خواهش کنیم که باهاشون در تماس باشید. کسانی که علاقمندن، یه کاغذ هم دم در روی میز گذاشتیم که این کسانی که این کاغذ رو دریافت نکردن میتونن اونجا ساین اپ بکنن و بلکه بشه یه گروهی رو درست بکنن برای نجات دادن و یا حفاظت گیلیارد. چون در واقع من متوجه نشدم که گفتن رقمی که اصلا نیاز هست برای این دیوار کشی رقم خیلی عجیب کمی است، ولی توانایی انجمن کلیمیان در ایران نبوده که این کارو بکنه. شاید که بشه از اینجا کاری بکنن براش.
بله. به انگلیسی فارسی من فارسی. این گورستان امروزه در وضعیت نامناسبی قرار دارد. تعدادی از سنگ قبرها شکسته و پراکنده شدند. در مجاورت گورستان در قسمت شرق و جنوب شرق آن محل انباشت زباله، خاک و خاشاک و نخاله ساختمانی می باشد. کثرت قبور موجود در گورستان نشان از آن دارد که یهودیان در گذشته اقلیت بزرگی در منطقه به شمار می رفتند، ولی امروزه از تعداد آنها آمار دقیقی در دست نیست. ثبت و مستندسازی قبرستان محل مذکور برای حفظ پیشینه فرهنگی این منطقه حائز اهمیت می باشد و نجات قبرستان نیز از وضعیت نابهنجار فعلی احترام به ادیان الهی و پیامبران آنان بوده و نشان از شخصیت فرهنگی مسلمانان خواهد داشت. آثار تاریخی دماوند Historical Monuments. It's published by the میراث فرهنگی
سازمان میراث فرهنگی که مسئول به اصطلاح پیدا کردن، انتخاب کردن اماکن قدیمی و تاریخی هستند و در واقع گورستان گیلیارد یکی از آثار تاریخی استان تهران به حساب میاد.
It's registered. You can go on the website.
It's a registered historical site.
Yes. What the website? I believe it's tehranmiras.org.
tehranmiras.org.
دو تا سوال دیگه میگیریم شما و شما بفرمایید.
No, I think I should go back to the slide over here.
But
Also, okay, سوال بود که آیا ما قصدمون اینه که میخوایم فقط برای دیوارکشی قصدمون دیوارکشیه؟ نه خیر، قصدمون فقط دیوارکشی نیست. ما قصدمون گذاشتن یه educational scholarship بورسیه تحصیلی برای افرادی که تحصیلات در زمینه باستانشناسی و انثروپولوژی انسانشناسی دارن و بتونن سایت هایی مثل این، مکان های باستانی مثل اینو شناسایی بکنن، در موردش تحقیق بکنن و برای ما به عنوان یک جواب و فکت برای ما اطلاعات بیارن بیرون. ما میخوایم تاریخمون رو بشناسیم. کار ما اینه، هدف ما اینه. این سوالی بود.
آخرین سوال بفرمایید.
technically, according to Iranian law, if you claim the place, it's sort of like the Homestead Act. If you go, you claim the place, you develop it, you fence it, it's yours. So that's the situation with this place. They just need to wall it off, and it's theirs. They will receive a document that says this property belongs to Jewish. 8 years ago, when they did the negotiations, and that was the ruling by the mayor, so that they can build the wall. When they did the appraisal, it cost something around 30 million tomans, which is $30,000. I would imagine with the inflation, it would cost $40,000, $50,000 today. We are in the process of ما داریم یک فاندیشن استابلیش میکنیم و اگه اون فلایرها هم گرفته باشین یه وبسایت هم داریم درست میکنیم که شما از طریق اون بتونید به ما کمک بکنید که ما این کار رو انجام بدیم.
بسیار سپاسگزارم از این سخنرانان عزیز با این تحقیقی که کردن. به نظر من زیبایی تحقیقشون و کاری که کردن از دو جهت برای ما جالبه. برای خود من شخصا این که موقعی که جوان‌ها اینوالو میشن با هویت ایرانی خودشون، با مسائل ایران و برمیگردن و تحقیق میکنن، گذشته رو نگاه میکنن و دلشون میخواد پاسخ سوالاتشون رو پیدا بکنن، بسیار با اهمیته. و این پلیس که مرکز تاریخ شفاهی بین جامعه بزرگتر و مسن‌تر و جوان‌ها زده و از این بابت ما خیلی خوشحالیم و یکی از بالندگی‌های ما این هست که جوانایی که تحقیق میکنن به ما مراجعه میکنن و ما هم سعی میکنیم که در تماسشون بذاریم با سازمان‌ها و یا محققین یا دانشگاه‌هایی که میتونن کمکشون بکنن. در هر حال استدعای من از همه شما دوستان عزیز این هست که این دوستان رو همونطور که این فلایرها رو پخش کردیم با ایمیل و با تلفنشون یا با هر اینفورمیشنی که به شما دادن در تماس باشید. این ورقه کاغذم که رو میز بیرون هست، اگر که دستتون نرسیده اون فلایر امضا کنید، یعنی اسمتون رو بذارید و اینفورمیشن خودتون رو، بلکه بشه از این یه سازمانی رو تشکیل داد و واقعا هم کاری نداره جمع آوری چنین پولی برای اینکه این دیوار رو بکشن. از قرار معلوم انجمن کلیمیان ایران و همینطور تهران و همینطور سازمان‌های دیگه، کسانی که فیلم‌ها رو دیدن در اون بخش سالن، اگر کسانی سرای سالمندان دیده باشن، در نیاز شدید مالی هستن و امکانات براشون نیست که بکنن. ولی از اینجا، از امریکا، از لس آنجلس، از نیویورک، امکان فرستادن $30,000 $40,000 پول واقعا چیز غیر قابل تصوری نیستش. خیلی کار ساده است و میشه انجام داد و میشه همت کرد و دستی به دست این دوستانی که اونجا در اون محیط و با تمام سختی هایی که دارن کوشش میکنن اماکن و ابنیه قدیمی رو نگه دارن، ولی گاه اوقات از دستشون و از توانشون خارج هست، بهشون یه دستی برسونم. خیلی ممنونم و متشکرم از سخنرانی. خواهش میکنم اگه ممکنه 5 دقیقه دیگه سر جاهاتون باشین. من عذر میخوام سرماخوردگی هم پیدا کردم، صدام گرفته. سلینا رو میخواستیم. سلینا الیس where are you come on. سلینا 4مین برنده جایزه ایوب یوسف زاده اوارد برای استودنت اچیومنت هست که در نیویورک زندگی میکنه و من دوست دارم که در مورد تحقیقش با شما حرف بزنه. در مورد جامعه یهودیان مشهدی تحقیق کرده. تایتل تحقیقش زیباست، کاری که کرده زیباست. سلینا با دوستان بکن.
I wasn't really planning on giving a speech, so I'll make this very short. I wrote my senior thesis at Wesleyan University on the Mashadi community. I'm a member of the Mashadi community. I don't look it, but I am. And Farsi am baladam. And I'm so happy to be here. It's the first time that I've ever been in a room where I've learned about Iranian Jewish history. I've never experienced anything like this before. I think it's absolutely amazing. So it's a major testament to your organization that this is happening. I've been fascinated all day, and I've really enjoyed the program. And it's such an honor to be able to hear Houman Sarshar speak about Iranian Jewish history and to hear the presentation about the Mashadi community, because we're a very small community and we're a very tight community, and it's very exciting when other people know our story, especially when so many of our youth don't know the story ourselves. My community was very excited for me to be here. They consider it to be a very great honor that you've invited me. So I'd like to thank you all on behalf of them as well. Our history is, I think it's just being started to be told. The community is planning on publishing my thesis and passing it on to the youth so that they can learn about it too. So thank you for listening to our story, and thank you for inviting me.
خواهش میکنم خانم سوسن یوسف زاده عزیزاده تشریف بیارن و جایزه سلینا رو بهش بدن. Would you read it, please? Would you read it?
Center for Iranian Jewish Oral History proudly presents the 4th Ayub Yousefzadeh Award of Academic Achievement to Selina Ellis for her article entitled, "If I Told You for Certain I Might Be Lying, An Inquiry into the Communal History of Mashhadi Jews, October 23, 2005, Los Angeles, California."
دوستان ساعت 5 فیلم یهودیان ایران که تازه 2-3 ماه از تنور در اومده رسیده اینجا پخش میشه. به همه شما توصیه میکنم این فیلم رو تا همین سالن تماشا بکنید. در سالن فستیوال فیلم های مستند همچنان فیلم های قدیمی ما رو دارن نشون میدن. کسانی که سالهای قبل اون فیلم ها رو دیدن میتونن با خیال راحت بیان و این فیلم جدید رو ببینن. 1 ساعت طول میکشه. خواهش میکنم سر وقت بیاد که درست سر ساعت 5 شروع کنیم. 6 بعد سالن رو ترک بکنیم. خیلی سپاسگزارم.